Session is Jonathan Odd, President and CEO of Dakota Gold.
Thanks very much. So I'm Jonathan Odd, President, CEO, and co-founder of Dakota Gold Corp. Dakota Gold Corp is a gold exploration development company with a very specific focus on revitalizing the Homestake District. This opportunity came about through the merger of a private company called JR Resources and a public company called Dakota Territory Resource Corp. And we acquired 3 assets that make up the core of our land package in the Homestake District from Barrick out of their closure group, which would be the 3rd deal that Barrick has done out of their closure group in the last 5 years, the other 2 being Skeena and K92. We trade on the NYSE American. Current market cap is just over $200 million. We'll likely be making a few forward-looking statements. So we've been pretty active here over the last 18 months. We've drilled roughly 200,000 feet at our 2 projects in the Black Hills. One is called Maitland, which is contiguous with the old Homestake mine. The other is our Richmond Hill project. Both are on private ground, so there's certainly a very strong narrative that permitting cannot be done in the U.S. Private ground is by far the most beneficial, as we generally avoid a NEPA process or dealing with the U.S. federal government. Made 2 discoveries at our Richmond project, one in Homestake Formation, which was the dominant host that Homestake mined for 125 years, and a new discovery in tertiary epithermal gold mineralization in north trending structures adjacent to our Homestake mineralization. So very encouraging for us. And that was Homestake never actually assayed for this tertiary epithermal gold mineralization, so we think it's an entirely new opportunity for us, and we can trace it almost 11,000 feet from the open cut. We just announced our most significant intercept at our Richmond Hill project, which came out a couple of weeks ago, which I'll talk to in a few minutes. So our head office is in Lead, so we are a U.S. company. It's about an hour drive to the north from Rapid City, and the blue outline there in that box, that is our land package. So 14,000 acres of our 50,000 acres is on private ground. We do have U.S. Forest Service, we do have BLM, but our 4 rigs right now are active on private ground. So I think a few of the things that really stand out about this opportunity, management is aligned with our shareholders. We own over a quarter of the company, well-funded with just under $20 million in the bank, and we are contiguous with a 40 million ounce deposit at a quarter ounce that was mined for 125 years. And we utilized a local expertise, local technical expertise, the last mine manager when Homestake shut down. And again, a lot of people don't understand, when Barrick came into the district and acquired Homestake in 2001, it was not for assets that Homestake had in South Dakota. It was for other assets in the Homestake portfolio. And again, it sat in their closure group for almost 20 years, and we were able to procure 3 assets from Barrick out of their closure group in 2020 through late 21. So when I refer to the Homestake District, this is what I refer to it as. So you'll see there, Lead, that's where our head office is. We're about 600 meters away from the open cut. And that red outline is mapped Homestake Formation. That was really the proof of concept we were looking to get into last year, because there were a number of holes that Homestake drilled back in the early 90s that demonstrated that mineralized Homestake Formation did extend north from the old mine onto the Maitland project. And we got into our JB discovery in Homestake, where the last intercept we announced was 5 meters of 19.5 grams. We also had an upper zone, which was the shallowest we've hit Homestake Formation, and that was just under 9 meters of 9 grams. The state's only active gold mine there is just to the west. That's the Wharf mine that belongs to Coeur Mining. It's an open pit heap leach project. And then our Richmond Hill project there in yellow is an option we have with Barrick. Private ground, past producer. We picked up the Richmond Hill project because we had a strong conviction that there was mineralization in the Precambrian, the basement rocks, underneath the oxide. And our hole that we announced a few weeks ago was 300 meters of almost a gram. We had some higher grade hits within that, so really encouraging, and I'll talk about that in a few slides. So just really quickly to summarize the deals we've done with Barrick. The first transaction was in green there, called Maitland, contiguous with the old mine, all on private ground. Does contain the past producing Maitland mine, which produced a couple 100,000 ounces of gold at a third of an ounce. It also contains the North Drift discovery that Homestake made back in 1993, to which they called it the North Drift discovery. So that's entirely on the Maitland project. And there were 6 widely spaced drill holes coming out of the open cut that Homestake did and drilled in the early 90s. And they were big step outs. They were 400 to 500 meters, and they hit mineralized Homestake formation in 5 of those 6 holes. The second deal we did with Barrick was in red there. This was an option over the old mine, over the surface area of the old mine, as the mineral rights are owned by the state of South Dakota. But why we did this transaction, in addition to getting 6,000 acres potentially of private ground, it gave us exclusive access to 125 years of data. And that really informed this larger consolidation program that saw us grow our land package from 5,000 acres to almost 50. And it's also really been instrumental in guiding this phase 1 exploration program. The third deal we did with Richmond Hill, which we have since amended to incorporate some additional land that Barrick had. Richmond Hill, private ground, past producer, 800 historical drill holes. So we are looking to compile those 800 drill holes and 50 holes that we've drilled to deliver a maiden resource to the market in Q1 of 2024. This is really what brought us to the Homestake district. So this is a long section there. On the right-hand side, you'll see the old mine, 40 million ounces from 9 ledges, 9 gold zones. The average grade here was roughly a quarter ounce. Their cutoff was 7 grams. So as they started to venture outside of the old mine, after they recognized what they had was a finite resource, you'll see there they drifted out at the 6,800 level to the tune of $70 million in the early 90s. And they made a discovery. Those red circles were some of the drill holes that Homestake drilled, and they called this the North Drift discovery. And so this is entirely on the Maitland project, and the greenish blue holes are holes that Dakota Gold has drilled. So again, our proof of concept was to prove that there was mineralized Homestake formation north coming out of the old mine onto the Maitland project. So we've proven that. We've made a discovery in Homestake formation where the last intercept had 2 gold zones in Homestake formation. Again, 5 meters of 19.5 grams and just under 9 meters of 9 grams. The upper zone was the shallowest we've hit mineralized Homestake formation. And then this tertiary epithermal gold discovery, we think, is a really important catalyst for us. Homestake never assayed for tertiary style mineralization in the old mine. We can trace it now almost 11,000 feet north-south. And our discovery of the hole there was 120 feet of 0.1 ounces per ton. So through the 7th of September, since we started drilling here at Maitland, we've drilled just over 100,000 feet. And we are going to be bringing one of our 4 rigs. We have 2 rigs at Richmond Hill and 2 rigs at Maitland. We're going to be moving one of the rigs from Richmond Hill to Maitland and utilizing directional drilling to tighten up our drill spacing and to eliminate some deviation we've been having with our drilling. So the red blocks there are mineralized Homestake formation. The subtle blue linear north-south structure, those are intercepts we've been hitting in the tertiary. So we can trace this tertiary style epithermal gold mineralization from the open cut, which is 3 miles to the south. And we can trace it all the way up to our Blind Gold project, which is validated and supported by some work that Dakota Territory Resource Corp did several years ago. But again, we started drilling here, again, proof of concept, to find mineralized Homestake formation along this corridor. So to have intercepts that are over half an ounce per ton is really encouraging for us. So we did get asked a lot of questions. Well, is this similar to, or is this analogous to Homestake formation? You know, because 97% of Homestake formation is not mineralized. So only 3% of it's mineralized. So it's very abrupt when you get into mineralized Homestake formation. So the top picture there is from our discovery hole, 7 ledge, which was a 3 million ounce ore body at a quarter ounce, and then main ledge, which had 19 million ounces of production. So it is the same kind of mineralization. And we're really focusing on this with our 3 rigs at Maitland. And I think it's also important to note that with every drill hole we drill, we have an opportunity to hit both kinds of mineralization, this tertiary epithermal and then this homestake formation. So drill hole 22 was the last hole that we announced. You'll see two gold zones, that 23.5 feet of over a quarter ounce, and then a lower, higher grade hit of 16.5 feet of 0.57 ounces per ton. So with the drilling we're doing now, we're utilizing directional drilling techniques to, again, really try to eliminate some of the deviation we've had and to tighten up our drill spacings, anywhere from sort of 150 to 300 foot step outs. So this tertiary epithermal discovery we announced earlier this year, which we call Unionville, which was the name of the first claim back in 1876, largely untested. And again, when Homestake was marching north out of the open cut, they didn't assay for anything within the tertiary, as it was very clear what they were following, this Homestake formation down to 8,100 feet. So we don't have a lot of pierce points into it. That's one of the goals in this next phase of drilling here, is to really march north to our Blind Gold project, which is indicated here in blue, and those high-grade samples that you see to the north there in red, which were 7 to 9 grams in this structure. So it's a huge opportunity for us. It's 11,000 feet, and something that these 3 rigs are going to be going after in conjunction with this directional drilling we're utilizing at within the Homestake formation. The Maitland mine last saw production as the U.S. entered the Second World War. A couple 100,000 ounces at a third of an ounce, very shallow, and it's totally open, and that's indicated by that parallel yellow structure to the east. That will receive some drill holes in this next phase of drilling. So again, Richmond Hill, we picked this up from Barrick after Coeur Mining dropped it. It's all on private ground. We did amend the deal around this time last year to incorporate some new land that Barrick had. That's highlighted by some of those isolated yellow shapes there. Some of it is within or proximal to the Wharf mine. And Wharf is the only active gold mine in the state of South Dakota. It's an oxide heap leach project, does about 85 to 90,000 ounces of gold a year. So 800 historical drill holes here, most of them very shallow, most of them focused on expansion of oxide. And we knew that there was a historical resource here that was done by Lac Minerals, but it was important for us to test underneath that oxide. A few holes did get out of the oxide into Precambrian and had some pretty nice intercepts in it. That is largely why we went after this project. Our geological theory is that the mineralized Homestake formation that you see to the east there in red wraps around and goes underneath Richmond Hill. So the drill hole that we announced a few weeks ago, which was 300 meters of almost a gram with some higher grade hits within that, we think that could be a feeder zone. So the next phase of drilling for us at Richmond Hill is to really go outside of the resource area, to which we're incorporating 800 historical drill holes and almost 50 holes we've drilled to release a maiden resource to the market in Q1 of 24. So just when we permit here, we typically get permits within 30 to 60 days because of the private aspect of this land package. We do have other ground that is on BLM and U.S. Forest Service. We are permitting some of that now. That is more of a 1 to 2 year process. So with the data we got here from Barrick, there are 5 breccia pipes, and only one of them has been drilled. The best intercept and that's in that MW3 zone, was 30 meters of 6 grams. So these breccia pipes do demonstrate an ability to make high grade. And I think more importantly, the gold mineralization is not confined to just the breccias. So there were 6 breccia pipes when we started drilling. We've connected 2 of them. I think now with the ability to really step out and do exploration type drilling, we're really encouraged by the opportunity to connect some of these breccia pipes, but again, to also go into that Precambrian underneath the tertiary mineralization. So there's a lot of room here, and typically when you see a project that has multiple owners or 800 historical drill holes, you think, well, they've drilled it off. Clearly there isn't anything going on here. But again, most of that drilling was with RC, and very shallow. A lot of these historical drill holes did not exceed 100 meters. And again, that was the opportunity for us. And I think really James Berry, our Vice President of Exploration, who was a part of the team that discovered the North Drift discovery, worked underground at Homestake, but also worked at Wharf Resources. So was very familiar with Homestake-style mineralization, but also this tertiary epithermal discovery we've made. And I have to give him credit for being open to a new type of unit, a new style of mineralization in a camp that really focused on one aspect and one kind of mineralization. So there's a lot of room here. We've just completed, again, the resource drilling for the maiden resource. Now the drilling we're doing will be designed to go outside of the known area and underneath that tertiary. And again, maiden resource is due in Q1 of 2024. So ESG, this is really important for us. We did a $50 million funding 2 years ago. We didn't pay a commission. It was non-brokered. And we took 1% of that, and we established an ESG fund. And we support a number of local charities, local causes. 36 of our full-time employees are from South Dakota, went to the South Dakota School of Mines. We're really active in the community. And I think it's part of the reason why we've had success within our community and very little pushback. And a lot of this work is led by Jerry Aberley, who's our Chief Operating Officer, who was the last mine manager when the mine shut down. And we just brought over Patrick Malone from Barrick, who ran their closure group. So they've been just a phenomenal resource for us locally. Again, as I outlined earlier, I think it's really important. I think it's a rarity in the mining industry. You know, management owns almost 25% of the company. One of our co-chairs, Dr. Robert Quartermain, is in the audience today, does not draw a salary, and what he would receive for compensation goes towards supporting a number of our ESG initiatives, both locally, more broadly in the state and elsewhere. A number of the specialist, gold funds that are left have been supportive. Two firms cover us right now with Michael Gray at Agentis and Peter Bell at Canaccord. Because of the way this company was set up, being a U.S. company, we were able to get into the Russell 3000 last year. So really, this company is led and guided by our two co-chairs. So Steve O'Rourke, former head of global exploration for BHP, had multi-billion-dollar programs. South Dakota School of Mines grad, lives in South Dakota, very active, very engaged. And of course, the other is Robert Quartermain, Silver Standard, Pretium, Mining Hall of Fame last summer, and the company's largest shareholder. Locally, technically, Jerry Aberley and James Berry. James Berry was an underground geologist for Homestake, was part of the team that discovered the North Drift discovery, also worked at Wharf Resources. And Jerry Aberley, who was the last mine manager, and really part of a local effort to keep this mine going back in the late 90s before Barrick came in and acquired it. And then just brought over Patrick Malone from Barrick to be our Chief Sustainability Officer. So we're going to keep these 4 rigs active. It's about a $15 million annual program to keep these 4 rigs active. Again, we'll have 3 rigs at our Maitland project and 1 at our Richmond Hill. So catalysts over the next 6 to 9 months. Look for continued drill results from the Homestake Formation discovery at Maitland, and also this new tertiary epithermal discovery in our Unionville zone at Maitland, and then going after this deeper Precambrian underneath the oxide at Richmond Hill, and of course our maiden resource in Q1 of 24. And I think it's appropriate for an exploration story to talk about its balance sheet. We have just under $20 million in cash in the bank. I've got a minute left, so maybe we'll have some questions.
Any questions from the audience? There's a question in the back.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. Maybe on the JB zone, and I came in slightly late, but cover the company. It feels like with hole 22, with what you've hit, and the context of having that Rosetta Stone and the team that knows what the beast looks like, that you should be able to now navigate fairly well. What's the philosophy on step-out drilling in terms of approach to, step out from that discovery, I guess you could call it, or do you kind of tighten up drill spacing?
Well, I think it's going to be both, Michael. I think 2 of those rigs are going to be utilizing the directional drilling, so we're going to really try to tighten up what's happening there at the JB zone. but we're going to be marching north towards the Blind Gold Project, continuing to really push both that tertiary epithermal discovery and the last hole, I think, arguably as encouraging as that lower, higher grade zone is to hit mineralized homestake formation at 800 feet vertical depth was the shallowest we've hit it.
We're out of time, but maybe one more question.
Do you have any intentions of making some deals with Barrick to go and mine the higher levels of the old homestake mine?
So it's important to note that Barrick does not own the minerals from the old mine. Barrick only has the surface rights. So Barrick donated the minerals to the state of South Dakota in 2007 for it to be the location of a science experiment. And it was chosen to be the location, so it's called the Dune, which is the deep underground neutrino experiment. So Barrick does not own the minerals anymore. I think if you maybe demonstrated that it didn't interfere with the science, and possibly, but we're really focused on Maitland and Richmond Hill at this time.
Okay. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.